For times in the last 110 years, the gold standard was suspended or ended entirely. The documented sequence each time is the same. This is an archive of historical events, not a forecast. No predictions, no tickers, the record as it happened. Chapter 1. 1914. The First World War. In the summer of 1914, the major European powers, Britain, France, Germany, Austria-Hungary, suspended gold convertibility within weeks of declaring war. The gold standard required governments to redeem paper currency in gold on demand. Funding a war required spending that no gold reserve could support. Britain officially suspended the gold standard in August 1914. The suspension was described as temporary. Government bond issuance expanded to fund military expenditure. Inflation followed in all the major combatant economies. The pre-war price level was never restored. Chapter 2. 1931. Britain leaves gold in the Depression. After the war, Britain returned to the gold standard in 1925 at the pre-war parity, a rate Churchill later called his greatest mistake. The parity overvalued the pound, made British exports uncompetitive, and required deflationary pressure to maintain. The Depression accelerated the strain. In September 1931, a run on the Bank of England's gold reserves forced suspension. Britain left gold permanently. The pound fell 15% against the dollar within weeks. 25 other countries followed Britain off gold within 2 years. The international gold standard, as it had existed before 1914, was effectively over. Chapter 3. 1933. The United States domestic suspension. In March 1933, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, making it illegal for U.S. citizens to hold gold coins, bullion, or gold certificates. Citizens were required to exchange their gold for dollars at $20.67 per ounce. The following year, the dollar was revalued against gold at $35 per ounce. The effective devaluation of the dollar against gold was approximately 40%. This was a domestic measure. The U.S. remained on a modified gold standard internationally until 1971. The order remained in force until 1974, when President Ford re-legalized private gold ownership for U.S. citizens. Chapter 4. 1971. Nixon closes the gold window. After the Second World War, the Bretton Woods Agreement established a system where the US dollar was convertible to gold at $35 per ounce, and other currencies were pegged to the dollar. By the late 1960s, US fiscal expenditure, Great Society programs and the Vietnam War had expanded the money supply beyond what gold reserves could support. Foreign central banks began redeeming dollars for gold. France was particularly aggressive. U.S. gold reserves fell from over $20 billion in 1958 to under $10 billion by 1971. On the 15th of August 1971, President Nixon announced the suspension of dollar gold convertibility. The Bretton Woods system ended. All major currencies began floating. Chapter 5. The Common Sequence. For suspensions, 1914, 1931, 1933, 1971, across different countries, different monetary systems, different political contexts. In each case, the documented sequence begins with a fiscal or military pressure that the existing monetary arrangement could not accommodate. Gold convertibility was suspended because it constrained spending. The suspension was invariably described as temporary. In no case was the original arrangement restored. Following suspension, currency units were redefined or floated. Inflation typically followed in the near term as the prior constraint was removed. A new monetary arrangement eventually emerged. In 1914 it was wartime control. After 1971 it was a fully floating fiat system. The gold standard was not abandoned once. It was abandoned 4 times, by different governments, under different circumstances, with the same result. This is what the historical record shows. The archive stays open.